I found it on a Tuesday morning, the kind of ordinary Tuesday where you're thinking about laundry and grocery lists and whether you remembered to pay the electric bill. I was sitting at our kitchen table with my coffee, using Daniel's laptop because mine was charging upstairs, and I needed to check something quickly for work. He'd left for his morning run 20 minutes earlier, kissing my forehead like he always did, telling me he loved me like he always did. And I believed him. God, I believed him so completely. His email was still open, Gmail, sitting there in the browser tab, innocent as anything. I wasn't snooping, that's what I told myself then, and it's what I tell myself now, though I'm not sure it matters anymore. I wasn't looking for anything. I just saw the notification number, 12 unread messages, and my finger moved to close the tab. But then I saw the name, Melissa, and the subject line, last night was everything. My hand froze on the trackpad. Last night. Daniel had been at a work conference dinner last night. He'd texted me around 9 saying it was boring, that he wished he was home with me. I'd sent back a heart emoji and gone to bed early with a novel I'd been meaning to finish. The memory of that moment, me snuggled under our duvet, content and trusting, makes me want to scream now. I clicked on the email. I don't know why. Maybe I did know why. Maybe some part of me had always known, had felt the small shifts in our marriage over the past few months that I'd convinced myself were normal. Were just the rhythm of 7 years together. Were nothing to worry about. Daniel, the email began. Not even hi or hey, just his name, intimate and familiar. Last night was everything I've been dreaming about for months. When you finally kissed me in that hotel hallway, I thought my heart would explode. I know we said we'd take it slow, that we'd think about what this means, but I can't stop thinking about the way you touched me, the way you said my name. I've never felt this alive. I love you. I know it's complicated, but I love you. Call me when you can. M. The coffee mug slipped from my hand. I watched it fall in slow motion, watched the dark liquid spread across our white oak table, watched it drip onto the floor. I didn't move to clean it up. I just sat there, reading the email again, and then I scrolled down. There were others, so many others, going back 5 months. 5 months of can't wait to see you, and thinking about you, and when can we be alone again? 5 months of him building a whole other life with someone whose name I'd heard exactly twice. Once when he mentioned a new colleague in his department, and once when he said she'd be at the conference. She's nice enough, he'd said, shrugging. Pretty smart, actually. Pretty smart. Pretty something, clearly. I heard the front door open, Daniel's footsteps in the hallway, slightly breathless from his run. Babe, he called out. I'm back. You want me to make breakfast? I'm thinking pancakes. Pancakes. He wanted to make me pancakes. The domesticity of it, the sheer normalcy, made something inside me crack open. Emma? His voice was closer now. He appeared in the kitchen doorway, sweaty and smiling, his face falling the moment he saw mine. What's wrong? Did something? His eyes moved to the laptop screen, to his email, to Melissa's message still glowing on the display. The color drained from his face so fast I actually saw it happen. Emma, don't. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was hollow, mechanical. Don't say my name right now. He moved toward me, hands up like I was a frightened animal. Let me explain. Explain what? I stood up, and my legs were shaking, but I stayed upright. Explain 5 months of emails? Explain last night was everything? Explain how you kissed me goodbye yesterday morning and then went and kissed her that night? I didn't. It's not what it looks like. She said you kissed her in a hotel hallway, Daniel. She said you touched her. She said she loves you. My voice cracked on that last word. And you know what? You never once denied it. You're not saying, that's crazy, or she's lying, or I would never. You're just standing there, looking guilty as hell. He sank into a chair, his head in his hands. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. I'm so sorry. God, Emma, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Such a small word for such a large destruction. How long? I asked. How long have you been sleeping with her? I haven't. We haven't. Last night was the first time we kissed, I swear. It's been mostly emotional. We've been talking, getting close, but nothing physical until last night. Oh, well then. I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to my own ears. Nothing physical, just 5 months of falling in love with someone else while coming home to me every night. Just an emotional affair that you finally upgraded to a physical one. I feel so much better now. Emma, please. Do you love her? The question hung in the air between us. I watched him struggle with it, watched him try to find words that wouldn't destroy me completely. And that's when I knew. If he had to think about it, if he couldn't immediately say no, then I already had my answer. I don't know, he finally whispered. I don't know what I feel. Everything's confused. She makes me feel, don't. I held up my hand. Don't tell me what she makes you feel. I've been your wife for 7 years. I've loved you for 9. And you don't get to tell me about the woman who makes you feel alive or special or whatever the hell it is. I grabbed my phone and my keys from the counter. The coffee was still spreading across the table, dripping steadily onto the floor, but I couldn't care about it. I couldn't care about anything except getting out of that house. Away from him, away from the ruins of everything I'd thought was real. Where are you going? He stood up, reaching for me. I don't know. Anywhere, nowhere. Does it matter? I pulled away from his touch. You know what the worst part is? You said you loved me this morning. You looked me right in the eyes and said you loved me. And then I find out you said the same thing to her last night. So which one of us were you lying to, Daniel? Or were you lying to both of us? I left him standing in our kitchen, surrounded by spilled coffee and broken promises, and drove. I didn't know where I was going until I pulled up outside my sister's apartment building. Sarah was home. Thank God she was home. And when she opened her door and saw my face, she didn't ask questions. She just pulled me inside and held me while I fell apart. The crying came in waves, violent, gasping sobs that hurt my chest and made my head pound. Sarah rubbed my back and murmured soothing sounds and didn't tell me it would be okay because she knew better than that. When I could finally breathe again, when the tears slowed to a steady stream instead of a flood, I told her everything. About the email, about the 5 months, about the kiss in the hotel hallway. That bastard, Sarah said, her jaw tight with anger. That absolute bastard. What did he say? Did he try to deny it? He admitted it, said nothing physical happened until last night. Like that makes it better, like 5 months of emotional cheating doesn't count. It counts, Sarah said fiercely. It absolutely counts. Sometimes the emotional betrayal is worse than the physical one. I knew she was right. The sex, if it had happened, when it happened, that was bad enough. But the intimacy, the connection, the months of choosing to share himself with someone else while pretending everything was fine with me, that felt like a deeper violation somehow. He'd given her pieces of himself that I thought belonged to me. My phone buzzed. Daniel, the first of what would become hundreds of texts over the next few days. Please come home. We need to talk. I love you. I'm so sorry, please. I turned it face down on Sarah's coffee table. Are you going to answer him? Sarah asked. I don't know. I don't know anything right now. I pulled my knees up to my chest. How did I not see it? Were there signs? Was I just blind or stupid or… Stop. Sarah cut me off. This is not your fault. You're not blind or stupid. He lied to you. He hid it from you. That's on him, not you. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. The past 5 months played through my mind like a movie I was watching for the second time, suddenly noticing all the details I'd missed. The way he'd become more protective of his phone, how he'd started going to more work events, staying later at the office, the slight distance that had crept between us. Nothing dramatic, just a subtle cooling that I'd attributed to stress or routine or normal relationship evolution. There was that weekend in September when he'd gone to a conference in Chicago. He'd called me every night, told me he missed me, sent me pictures of his boring hotel room and the deep dish pizza he'd tried. Had he been with her then? Had those phone calls happened while she was lying next to him in that boring hotel room? My stomach turned. I ran to Sarah's bathroom and threw up, my body rejecting everything, the coffee, the betrayal, the images I couldn't stop creating in my mind. Sarah held my hair back and handed me a wet washcloth when I was done. You're staying here tonight, she said. It wasn't a question. I stayed there for 3 nights. Daniel called and texted constantly. He showed up at Sarah's apartment on day 2, but she answered the door and sent him away. I could hear his voice through the door, pleading, desperate. I just need to see her, please. I love her. I made a mistake. Please just let me talk to her. Sarah told him that if he really loved me, he'd give me space to breathe and think. He left, but the texts kept coming. On the 4th day, I went home. Not because I'd forgiven him or because I was ready to talk, but because I needed my things and I needed to be in my own space, even if that space was now contaminated by his betrayal. Daniel was at work. He'd texted that morning saying he'd stay away if I wanted to go to the house, that he'd give me whatever time I needed. The coffee stain was still on the table. He'd tried to clean it, I could tell, but there was a faint brown shadow on the white oak that would probably never come out completely, a permanent reminder of the moment everything broke. I walked through our house, the house we'd bought together 3 years ago, the house we'd painted and furnished and filled with our life. And it all felt different now, contaminated. The couch where we'd watched 1,000 movies, the bed where we'd slept tangled together every night, the kitchen where he'd cooked for me, where we'd danced while dinner simmered on the stove. Every corner held memories, and now those memories felt like lies. In our bedroom, I opened his closet and saw his work clothes hanging neatly in a row. He was fastidious about his appearance, always had been. One of the things I'd loved about him. I wondered which shirt he'd been wearing when he first kissed her. If he'd come home and hung it right back up among the others. Just another piece of clothing, no big deal. I packed a suitcase, clothes for a week, my laptop, my toiletries. I didn't know where I was going or for how long, but I knew I couldn't stay here. Not yet, maybe not ever. My phone rang. Not Daniel this time, his mother. I almost didn't answer, but Catherine had always been kind to me, and I knew Daniel had probably told his parents everything. Or his version of everything anyway. Emma, honey. Catherine's voice was soft, careful. How are you holding? I've been better, I said, aiming for lightness and failing completely. Daniel told us what happened, about the woman from his work, about what he did. She paused. There's no excuse for it. I told him that. But sweetheart, he's devastated. He loves you so much. He made a terrible mistake and he knows it. A mistake, I repeated. Catherine, a mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. A mistake is double booking dinner plans. Having a 5-month affair isn't a mistake. It's a choice. A series of choices, actually. Hundreds of them. You're right, she said quietly. You're absolutely right. I want you to know that whatever you decide, whatever you need, we support you. You're family to us, Emma. You have been since the day Daniel brought you home. That doesn't change. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. Thank you. That means more than you know. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of our bed. My bed, his bed, whose bed was it now? And let myself imagine it. Divorce, splitting up our life. Who gets the house? Who gets the friends we've made together? How do you divide 7 years of shared existence? And underneath all the practical questions was the deeper one. Did I even want to? Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the lies and the woman named Melissa who loved my husband, did I want to throw away 7 years? I didn't know. God help me, I didn't know. Daniel came home while I was still sitting there. I heard his car in the driveway, his key in the lock, his footsteps on the stairs. He appeared in the bedroom doorway and he looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, hair unwashed, clothes wrinkled. He looked how I felt. Hi, he said softly. Hi, you're packing. Yeah. Is this? He couldn't finish the question. I don't know, I said. I don't know what this is. I just know I can't be here right now. He nodded, shoving his hands in his pockets. Can we talk, please? I know you're angry and you have every right to be, but I need you to understand. Understand what? I stood up, facing him across our bedroom. What could you possibly say that would make me understand? You fell in love with someone else, Daniel, while you were married to me, while you were telling me you loved me every day. What am I supposed to understand about that? I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear, Emma, I didn't set out to hurt you. It just... Melissa and we worked on a project together, and we started talking, and she understood things about my work that you don't. Don't, I warned. Don't you dare make this about me not understanding your work. I've listened to you talk about your research for 9 years. I've attended your presentations. I've celebrated your publications. Don't act like I'm some intellectually inadequate wife who can't keep up with you. That's not what I meant. She's in the field, and there are things we can discuss that... You know what I think? I interrupted. I think you're making excuses. I think you liked the attention. I think you liked feeling special and desired and whatever else she made you feel. And instead of coming home and talking to me, instead of working on our marriage if you felt something was missing, you chose to start something with her. You chose that. Every single day for 5 months, you chose that. He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. I know I chose it, and I hate myself for it. Emma, I love you. I have always loved you. This thing with Melissa, it's not real. It's not what we have. Then why did you do it? My voice broke. If you love me so much, if what we have is so real, why did you risk it all for something that isn't? I don't know, he whispered. I've been asking myself that same question for days. I think maybe I got scared. We've been together since we were 23. You're the only woman I've ever really been with, and sometimes I wondered if there was something else out there, if I was missing something. And Melissa was there, and she paid attention to me, and I felt young, I supplied, excited, desired. Yeah, I bet you did. Do you know how I felt? Safe, loved, secure. I felt like I had a partner I could trust with my whole life. Guess we were both wrong about what we had. We weren't wrong. We aren't wrong. Emma, please, we can fix this. I'll end it with Melissa completely. I'll change jobs if I have to. I'll do anything to make this right. You can't make it right, I said. That's what you're not getting. You can't undo what you did. You can't give me back the 5 months where I was happy and in love and had no idea my husband was building a relationship with another woman. You can't unkiss her. You can't take back telling her you love her. So that's it? His voice rose with desperation. 7 years and you're just done. You won't even try to work through this? I didn't say that. I zipped my suitcase closed. But I need time. I need space to figure out what I want. And right now, what I want is to not be around you. I grabbed my bag and started for the door. He caught my arm gently, carefully. Emma, please don't leave like this. I looked down at his hand on my arm, at the wedding ring he was still wearing, at the promise that ring represented that he'd already broken. You left us the moment you kissed her, Daniel. I'm just catching up. I stayed at a hotel that night. Sarah had offered her couch again, but I needed to be alone with my thoughts, with my rage, with my grief. Because that's what it was. Grief. I was mourning the death of my marriage even though my husband was still alive and texting me every hour. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please give me another chance. We can fix this. Could we? I lay in the too soft hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, and tried to imagine a future where we got past this. Couples did, I knew. Infidelity wasn't always a death sentence for a relationship. People worked through it, went to counseling, rebuilt trust. But did I want to be one of those people? Did I want to be the wife who took back her cheating husband, who spent years wondering if he was really at work or with her, who checked his phone and email and looked for signs? I thought about Melissa. I'd looked her up on social media, of course, couldn't help myself. She was pretty, younger than me by about 5 years, blonde where I was brunette, slender and polished in all her photos. There were pictures of her at work conferences, at research symposiums, at the exact event where Daniel had kissed her for the first time. In one photo from that conference, I could see Daniel in the background. He was laughing at something, his face lit up in a way that made my chest ache. When was the last time I'd made him laugh like that? But then I caught myself. No, I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to make this about what I lacked or what I failed to do. Daniel made a choice, a series of choices, and those choices weren't about my inadequacies. They were about his. Still, the questions haunted me. Had I been a good wife? Had I been attentive enough, interesting enough, exciting enough? We'd fallen into routines, sure, but I thought that was normal. I thought that was what happened when you built a life with someone. You couldn't maintain the intensity of new love forever. Or could you? Should you? A week passed. Then 2. I moved into a furnished apartment, something temporary while I figured out what to do. Daniel and I texted sporadically. He told me he'd ended things with Melissa, that he'd requested a transfer to a different apartment. He sent me long emails explaining, apologizing, begging. I read them all, but rarely responded. My friends rallied around me. Sarah, of course, but also Jen and Marcus and Priya, our couple friends who now had to navigate the awkwardness of a potential split. Most of them were supportive of whatever I decided, but I could feel some of them wanted us to work it out. "You guys are so great together," Jen said over coffee one afternoon. "This is such a shock. Daniel always seemed so devoted to you." He had seemed devoted. That was the thing that twisted the knife deeper. He'd played the role of loving husband perfectly. How was I supposed to trust anything now? "I think you should at least talk to him," Jen continued. "Really talk. Maybe go to couples counseling. 7 years is a lot to throw away." "He threw it away," I said. "Not me." I know he did, but maybe it's worth trying to salvage." Was it? I honestly didn't know. That night I texted Daniel. "We should talk. In person. Coffee tomorrow?" His response was immediate. "Yes. Anytime, anywhere. Thank you." We met at a cafe halfway between his office and my temporary apartment. Neutral ground. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee in front of him. Mine was exactly how I liked it. He still remembered. "Hi," he said as I sat down. He looked better than the last time I'd seen him, like he'd been sleeping, eating, taking care of himself. Good. I didn't want him to be destroyed. Or maybe I did. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. "Hi. Thanks for agreeing to meet. I wasn't sure you would." I wrapped my hands around the coffee cup. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about what happened, about what comes next." He leaned forward. And I'm still angry. I'm furious, actually. But I miss you. I miss my husband. Or the husband I thought you were. I don't know. I'm still that person, Emma. I'm still the man who loves you, who wants to spend his life with you. I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still me. Are you? I looked at him directly. Because the man I married wouldn't have done what you did. The man I married was honest and loyal and I don't know who you are anymore, Daniel. That's the problem. He reached across the table like he wanted to take my hand, then thought better of it. Then let me show you. Let me prove that I'm still that person, that I can be that person again, better than that person. How? I asked. How do you prove something like that? How do I ever trust you again? Counseling, he said. I've already found a therapist, a marriage counselor who specializes in infidelity. I've scheduled an intake session for myself, but she said she'd be willing to see us as a couple if you're open to it. I was surprised. I hadn't expected him to be proactive, to already have a plan. You did that? I did. I know I screwed up, Emma. I know I destroyed your trust, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild it. Counseling, therapy, complete transparency, anything. I'll give you full access to my phone, my email, my calendar. I'll check in constantly. Whatever you need. That sounds exhausting, I said, for both of us. It probably will be, but you're worth it. We're worth it. Was we still existed? Could it? I need you to answer something honestly, I said. And I mean it, Daniel. Don't spare my feelings or tell me what you think I want to hear. Just be honest. Okay. Do you love her? He was quiet for a long moment. I watched emotions flicker across his face. Fear, shame, uncertainty. Finally, he said, I thought I did. In the moment, caught up in everything. I thought what I felt was love. But it wasn't. It was infatuation. It was excitement and newness and all the things that feel like love, but aren't actually love. Real love is what I feel for you. Real love is 7 years of building a life together. Real love is knowing someone completely and choosing them anyway. Did you sleep with her? Another pause, longer this time. Yes, twice. The night of the conference and one other time the week after. The air left my lungs. I'd known, of course. The email had made it obvious, but hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Emma, I need a minute. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Several people looked over. I walked to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and focused on breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In, out. In, out. He'd slept with her, twice. Had he thought of me? Had he felt guilty? Or had he been too caught up in the excitement of his new relationship to think about the woman waiting for him at home? When I came back to the table, my coffee was cold. Daniel looked wrecked, his face pale and drawn. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I should have. Stop, I said. You asked me to meet you so we could talk honestly. This is honest. It hurts like hell, but it's honest. Do you want to know details? I'll tell you anything you want to know. God, no. The thought of him describing it made my stomach turn. I don't want to know where or how or no, just no. Okay. We sat in silence for a while. The cafe bustled around us, people ordering coffee and chatting and laughing, living their normal lives while mine fell apart. I want to try, I said finally. I want to try counseling. But I need you to understand something, Daniel. This doesn't mean we're okay. This doesn't mean I've forgiven you or that we're back together. This means I'm willing to see if there's anything left to save. That's all I can promise right now. That's enough, he said, and there were tears in his eyes again. That's more than enough. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for giving me this chance. The first counseling session was brutal. Lila, our therapist, was kind but direct. She asked hard questions. How long had the affair lasted? What were the underlying issues in the marriage that might have contributed? What did each of us need to feel safe and loved? Daniel talked about feeling stagnant, about the routines we'd fallen into, about feeling like we'd become roommates more than lovers. I bristled at that, defensive. But Lila gently pointed out that defensiveness wouldn't help us heal. I talked about feeling blindsided, about the complete destruction of trust, about not knowing if I could ever feel safe with him again, about how every time he was late or took his phone into another room or said he had to work late, I would wonder, always wonder. That's the cost of infidelity, Lila said. For the partner who is betrayed, the relationship becomes a constant source of anxiety. For the partner who had the affair, there's the weight of guilt and the pressure to prove themselves constantly. Healing from this takes time, effort, and brutal honesty from both of you. We committed to weekly sessions. In between, Daniel and I lived separately. I stayed in my temporary apartment, he stayed in the house. But we started seeing each other regularly. Coffee dates, walks in the park, dinners where we talked about everything except the affair. We were relearning each other, rediscovering what had drawn us together in the first place. Some days were good. There were moments when I'd catch him laughing at something I said, or he'd reach for my hand without thinking, and I'd feel a flutter of the old connection. Hope would bloom in my chest, fragile and tentative. Other days were terrible. I'd spiral into obsessive thoughts about him and Melissa. I'd imagine them together, picture her body against his, hear him saying he loved her. I'd text him accusatory messages or refuse to answer his calls, or show up at counseling sessions angry and shut down. Lila taught us tools, communication exercises, trust-building activities, ways to express needs without attacking. She helped Daniel understand the depth of the trauma he'd inflicted. She helped me understand that healing wasn't linear. that I would have bad days, and that was okay. 3 months in, I asked the question I'd been avoiding. Do you still think about her? We were in the park, walking along the path we'd walked hundreds of times before. It was late October, the leaves turning brilliant shades of red and gold. Daniel didn't answer right away. Then, sometimes, not in the way you're thinking. I don't miss her or wish I was with her. But sometimes I think about how stupid I was, how close I came to losing you. And that makes me think about her, about the situation. Is she still at your work? Different department, like I said. I see her occasionally in the hallway. We don't speak. Does she try to? No. I told her when I ended it that I was fighting for my marriage, that I'd made a mistake and that I loved my wife. She was upset, but she understood. She's not trying to sabotage us, Emma. I know that doesn't make it better, but she's not the villain here. I am. It was true. As much as I wanted to hate Melissa, to paint her as a homewrecker or temptress, she was just a woman who'd fallen for a man who was emotionally available, even though he shouldn't have been. Daniel was the one who'd made vows. Daniel was the one who'd broken them. I'm trying, I said. I'm really trying to forgive you. Some days I think I have, and then something will trigger me. A song or a smell or just a random thought, and I'm right back in that kitchen, reading that email, feeling my whole world collapse. I know. Lila said that's normal. The trauma doesn't just disappear. Do you think we'll make it? I asked. Be honest. He stopped walking, turning to face me. I think if we both keep working at it, if we both want it enough, we can. But Emma, I think you need to forgive yourself too. Forgive myself? For what? For whatever you're blaming yourself for. I can see it in your eyes sometimes. You're wondering what you did wrong, what you could have done differently. And I need you to hear me when I say this. You did nothing wrong. This was my failure, my weakness, my choice. You were a great wife. You are a great wife. This was never about you not being enough. I felt tears prick my eyes. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that until he said it. By month 5, we decided to try living together again. Not in the house. There were too many ghosts there. But in a new apartment. A fresh start, a clean slate. We moved in on a Saturday, carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs, arranging furniture, hanging pictures. It felt simultaneously familiar and foreign, like we were a new couple setting up our first place together. That night, as we lay in our new bed, in our new bedroom, Daniel reached for me. Not sexually, just a hand on my hip, a gentle gesture. I didn't pull away. I love you, he whispered into the dark. I know, I whispered back. I didn't say it back. Not yet, but maybe someday I would. The nightmares started around month 6. I'd dream that I was watching them together, that I was invisible in the corner of a hotel room, while Daniel touched her, kissed her, told her all the things he'd once told me. I'd wake up gasping, sometimes crying, and Daniel would hold me and apologize and promise it would never happen again. I believe you, I'd say, and most of the time I did, but belief and trust weren't the same thing. I was learning. I believed he wouldn't cheat again. I didn't trust that I wouldn't be hurt again. In counseling, Lila pushed us deeper. What were we each getting out of the relationship? What needs weren't being met? How could we rebuild intimacy? Emotional and physical. That last one was hard. We'd had sex a few times since I'd moved back in, tentative encounters that felt both right and wrong. I wanted him. I missed the physical connection. But sometimes in the middle of it, I'd freeze, my mind flooding with images of him with her. Was this how they'd done it? Did she touch him like this? Did he like it more? Daniel always noticed when I checked out. He'd stop, gather me close, ask if I wanted to keep going or if we should just hold each other. Sometimes we continued, sometimes we didn't. He never pushed, never complained. He was patient in a way that made me love him and resent him simultaneously. 8 months after the discovery, we went back to the house. We decided to sell it. Too many memories, too much history. We needed to pack up our life, sort through what to keep and what to let go. Walking through those rooms was surreal. The living room where we'd hosted dinner parties, the guest room we'd always said would be a nursery someday, the kitchen with its coffee-stained table that we'd never managed to fully clean. "Do you remember the night we moved in?" Daniel asked. We were standing in the empty master bedroom, boxes stacked around us. We slept on an air mattress because the moving truck wouldn't arrive until the next day. "And we ordered pizza and ate it on the floor," I continued, "and we stayed up all night talking about what we'd do with the place. What color we'd paint each room, where we'd hang pictures. We were so happy." We were. Past tense. Were we happy now? I wasn't sure I knew what happiness felt like anymore. "I ruined this," Daniel said quietly. "I ruined everything." "Yeah," I agreed. "You did." He looked at me, surprised by the bluntness. "But," I continued, "I'm choosing to stay anyway. To see if we can build something new. It won't be the same as what we had, it can't be. But maybe it can be something else, something stronger maybe, more honest." "You think we can get there?" "I don't know. Ask me again in a year." We sold the house in November. By December, we'd fallen into new rhythms in the new apartment. We cooked together, went on date nights, watched movies on the couch. We were finding our way back to each other, slowly, painfully, but genuinely. I started to believe again. Not completely, not without reservations, but I started to trust that maybe we could actually survive this. Maybe we were going to be okay. And then, 2 days before Christmas, I got a message on Facebook. It was from Melissa. "Hi, Emma. I know this is probably the last thing you want to see, but I need to talk to you. It's important. Can we meet? Please. Just coffee. Just one conversation." I stared at the message for a long time. My first instinct was to delete it, block her, pretend I'd never seen it. What could she possibly have to say to me? But curiosity won out. I texted back. "Fine. Tomorrow. 3 p.m. Send me the address." I didn't tell Daniel. I told myself it was because I didn't want to upset him during the holidays. But really, I think I wanted this for myself. This woman had been an invisible presence in my life for a year. She'd almost destroyed my marriage, and I wanted to look her in the eye and see what kind of person could do that. The next day, I walked into a small coffee shop in a neighborhood I didn't know. Melissa was already there, sitting at a back table. She looked different than her photos, smaller somehow, less polished. She wore no makeup, and her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. "Hi," she said as I sat down. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would." I almost didn't. "What do you want, Melissa?" She twisted her coffee cup between her hands. "I want to apologize. I know that doesn't mean much, and I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need to say it. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for my part in hurting you." "Okay," I kept my voice neutral. "Apology noted. I also wanted you to know I didn't know. Not at first. When Daniel and I started getting close, when we started spending time together, he told me his marriage was struggling, that you and he were growing apart, that he wasn't sure if you still loved him. I felt anger flash through me. That's bullshit. Our marriage wasn't struggling. I loved him completely. I know that now," she said. After he ended things, after I had time to process, I realized he'd been lying. To me, to you, maybe to himself. He wanted permission to have something with me. So he created this narrative where his marriage was already over. And I believed him because I wanted to. I studied her face. She looked genuinely remorseful, but I didn't particularly care. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I don't want you to blame yourself. I know people do that. People who've been cheated on, I mean. They wonder what they did wrong, how they could have prevented it. And I wanted you to know that from my perspective, from what I saw, you didn't do anything wrong. Daniel's unhappiness, if he was even really unhappy, had nothing to do with you. It was about him, about whatever he was going through internally." "Great," I said. "Thanks for the absolution. I'm not trying to absolve you. I'm trying to give you information. Closure, maybe. I don't know." We sat in silence for a moment. Then I asked the question I'd been wondering for a year. "Did you really love him?" She looked down at her coffee. "I thought I did, but I don't think I knew him well enough to love him. Not really. I loved the version of him he presented to me, the charming, attentive, slightly damaged man who made me feel special. But that wasn't really him. That was just his affair persona. Did he make you feel alive? I asked, throwing his words from that terrible morning back at him through her. He did, she admitted. But I've learned that feeling alive and having something real are two different things. What he and I had, it was intense, but it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't built on anything solid. And what he and I have? I don't know. I don't know you or your marriage, not really, but he chose you. He ended things with me to fight for you. That has to count for something. It did count for something, but was it enough? I left the coffee shop feeling strange. I'd expected to hate Melissa, to rage at her, but instead I just felt empty. She was just a person, flawed like all of us. She'd made bad choices like all of us. She wasn't a monster or a villain. She was just a woman who'd gotten caught up in something messy. That night, I told Daniel about the meeting. He was upset that I'd met with her, worried about how it had affected me. She apologized, I said, told me you'd lied to her about our marriage, said you told her we were falling apart. Daniel's face went pale. Emma, did you? He nodded slowly. Yes. I told her things were bad with us, that we'd grown distant. I needed to justify what I was doing, both to her and to myself. So I created this story where our marriage was already dying. But it wasn't dying, I said. I was happy. I thought you were too. I was, he said. I was happy, and I was restless, and I was stupid. I didn't know how to deal with my own shit, so I blamed it on our marriage. That's not fair to you, and it's not true. You didn't fail me, Emma. I failed myself. I believed him, and maybe that was growth, that I could hear him admit to lying, to manipulating the situation, and still believe that he was being honest now. We made it through Christmas, then New Year's, as we toasted at midnight, sparkling cider because I'd given up alcohol during the stress of everything. I looked at Daniel and thought, we might actually survive this. We might actually make it, but there was still a weight between us, an invisible barrier that I couldn't quite break through. I loved him. I did, even though I still hadn't said it out loud, but I wasn't in love with him anymore, not the way I used to be. That innocent, trusting love was gone, replaced by something more complicated, more careful. In February, over a year after the discovery, I said it in counseling. I love you, but I'm not in love with you, not like before, and I don't know if I ever will be again. Daniel's face crumpled. So what does that mean? Are we done? I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if this is enough to build a life on, a careful, guarded love, or if we're both just hanging on to what we used to have. What do you want? Lila asked me. I want to feel safe again, I said. I want to look at him and not wonder. I want to go to sleep at night without worrying that I'm going to have nightmares. I want to be able to love him without my fear. And do you think you can get there? Lila pressed. I don't know. Daniel was crying now, silent tears streaming down his face. I'll wait, he said. However long it takes, I'll wait. That's not fair to you, I said. To put your life on hold indefinitely, waiting for me to maybe, possibly someday, feel the way I used to feel. I don't care about fair. I care about you, about us. But is there still an us? I asked. Really? Or are we just two people clinging to the ghost of what we used to be? The question hung in the air between us. Lila let it sit there. Let us both sit with it. Finally, Daniel spoke. I don't know what we are anymore, but I know I want to keep trying. As long as you're willing to keep trying, I'm here. We kept trying. Through February, through March, we celebrated our 8th anniversary in April. 8 years since we'd started dating, though it felt like a lifetime ago. We went to dinner, held hands across the table, talked about the future in tentative, careful terms. But something shifted in me that night. Sitting across from Daniel, watching him try so hard, I realized I was exhausted. I was tired of working at my marriage, tired of analyzing every interaction, every feeling, tired of performing trust I didn't fully feel, tired of living in the shadow of his betrayal. I loved him. I probably always would. But I wasn't happy, and I wasn't sure I could be happy with him anymore. In May, 14 months after finding that email, I asked for a separation. Not a divorce, not yet, but a real separation. A pause to figure out what I wanted without the pressure of trying to make us work. Daniel was devastated. Please, he begged, please don't give up on us now. We've come so far. Have we, though? I asked. Or have we just been treading water, hoping things would eventually feel normal again? Emma, I love you. I know, I love you too, but I don't think love is enough anymore. I moved out the next week. Got my own apartment, a real one this time, not temporary. Filled it with my things, made it mine. It was smaller than what Daniel and I had shared, but it felt like breathing room. The first night alone, I cried. For what we'd lost, for what we'd never get back, for the innocent trust that had died that Tuesday morning in our kitchen. But I also felt relief, like a weight I'd been carrying for over a year had finally lifted. Daniel and I still talked, still saw each other occasionally, but without the pressure of making the marriage work, we could just be. Sometimes we'd get coffee and it would feel easy, natural. Other times it felt strained, sad. We were mourning the same loss from different sides. In August, almost a year and a half after the affair, I finally said it. We were walking through the same park where he'd once told me he sometimes thought about Melissa. The leaves were green now, full and lush, but I knew they'd start turning soon. Everything changed with time. I want a divorce, I said. Not angry, not accusatory, just factual. Daniel stopped walking. Are you sure? I am. I've tried, Daniel. I've really tried. But I can't do this anymore. I can't keep trying to rebuild something that's fundamentally broken. It's not broken, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. It is, and that's okay. Sometimes things break, and they can't be fixed. That doesn't mean we failed. Well, I mean, you did fail when you cheated. But it doesn't mean we failed at trying to fix it. We tried. We gave it everything. But I think we both need to let go now. He was quiet for a long time. Then, will you be okay? Eventually. Will you? I don't know. I hope so. We stood there in the fading summer light, two people who'd loved each other deeply and hurt each other irreparably. And we said goodbye. Not with words. We'd have to do the official divorce proceedings still, but with understanding, with acceptance, with grief. That night, alone in my apartment, I didn't cry. I felt sad, but I also felt free. The story was over. Not the way I'd wanted it to end. Not with us riding off into a perfectly healed sunset, but with honesty, with clarity, with the acknowledgement that sometimes love isn't enough to overcome betrayal. I texted Sarah. I asked for a divorce. She called immediately. How are you feeling? Sad. Relieved. Like I can finally breathe again. Do you regret trying to fix it? I thought about that. All the counseling sessions, all the conversations, all the emotional labor of trying to rebuild trust. No, I don't regret it. I needed to know that I tried everything. Now, I can move forward without wondering what if. What's next? I don't know. Figure out who I am outside of being Daniel's wife, I guess. It's been 9 years. I don't even remember who I was before him. Then figure it out, Sarah said. You've got time. You've got your whole life. She was right. I did have my whole life. And for the first time in 14 months, that thought didn't terrify me. It excited me. The divorce was finalized in December. Almost 2 years after that Tuesday morning in our kitchen. 2 years of trying, fighting, healing, hurting, and finally letting go. We split our assets, signed the papers, shook hands like business partners closing a deal. I'm sorry, Daniel said one last time, for everything. I hope you know that. I do, I said. And I did. He was sorry. He'd been sorry the whole time, but sorry couldn't undo what he'd done. And sorry couldn't make me trust him again. Do you think, he started, then stopped. What? Do you think if I hadn't cheated, we would have made it? Would we have been happy? I considered the question. The honest answer was, I didn't know. Maybe we would have drifted apart eventually anyway. Maybe the infidelity had just accelerated an ending that was already coming. Or maybe we would have been happy for 50 more years. I don't know, I said finally, and I don't think it matters anymore. This is where we ended up. He nodded, accepting that. I hope you find someone who deserves you. Someone who doesn't fuck it up like I did. I hope you figure out whatever you were running from, I replied, so you don't hurt the next person. We parted ways outside the lawyer's office. He went left toward his car. I went right toward mine. I watched him walk away. This man I'd loved for 9 years. This man who'd broken my heart and tried desperately to mend it. And I felt nothing. Not love, not hate, not even sadness anymore. Just a kind of distant fondness. The way you might feel about an old photograph. That night, I went out with Sarah and Jen and Priya. We drank too much wine and laughed too loud, and they toasted my freedom. I danced until my feet hurt, let strangers buy me drinks, felt young and reckless and alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. At 2 a.m, standing on the sidewalk waiting for an Uber, Jen said, "Are you okay? Really? Was I?" I thought about Daniel, about Melissa, about that coffee-stained table and that terrible email and all the pain of the past 2 years. I thought about the life I'd imagined, the house, the kids we'd never had, the future that had disappeared in an instant. And then I thought about my apartment, with its mismatched furniture and plants on every windowsill. I thought about the morning I'd started taking yoga classes and how my body felt stronger than it had in years. I thought about the writing class I'd signed up for, the old dream I was finally pursuing. "Yeah," I said. "I think I am." And I was. Not completely. You don't erase 9 years and 2 years of trauma overnight. But I was getting there. Day by day, breath by breath, I was becoming myself again. Not the person I was before Daniel, but someone new. Someone shaped by love and betrayal and grief and survival. Someone whole. 3 months after the divorce, I went on my first real date. His name was Marcus, not the same Marcus from our friend group, a different one. And he was kind and funny and had no idea about my past. We met at a bookstore, bonded over a shared love of mystery novels, and he asked for my number with an endearing nervousness that made me smile. On our third date, he asked about my last relationship. I told him the truth. I was married, he cheated. We tried to work through it but couldn't. We're divorced now. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "That must have been brutal." It was, I agreed, but I survived it. And I learned a lot about myself in the process. Like what? Like I'm stronger than I thought. Like I deserve someone who won't take me for granted. Like love is important, but it's not everything. You also need trust and honesty and respect. He smiled. Those all sound like good lessons. They were. Hard-won, painful lessons, but good ones nonetheless. Marcus and I dated for 6 months before he said he loved me. I didn't say it back right away. I needed time, needed to be sure I meant it. But eventually, I did. And when I said it, I meant it fully. Not carefully, not guardedly, but with my whole heart. Because I'd learned that too, in the aftermath of Daniel's betrayal. I'd learned that I could survive heartbreak. That being hurt didn't mean I had to close myself off forever. That I could love again, differently than before, more wisely than before, but just as deeply. It's been 4 years now since that Tuesday morning. 4 years since I found Daniel's email still open on his laptop. Since I read Melissa's message. Since my whole life changed in the space of a heartbeat. Daniel and I are cordial when we run into each other. He remarried last year, not Melissa, someone else entirely. And I heard through mutual friends that he seems happy. I hope he is. I genuinely do. Not for him necessarily, but because if he's happy, maybe that means he figured out whatever broke inside him that made him cheat. Maybe he won't hurt the next person the way he hurt me. I'm happy too. Marcus and I moved in together 6 months ago. We're talking about getting married, but I'm not in a rush. I've learned that you can't predict the future. Can't guarantee that love will last forever. But you can be present in the moment, can choose someone every day, can build something real and solid. Sometimes people ask me if I regret the time I spent trying to fix my marriage with Daniel. If I wish I'd just walked away that first day instead of spending over a year in counseling trying to rebuild trust that was never quite rebuilt. And the answer is no. I don't regret it. Because that time, that effort, it taught me things I needed to know. It taught me my worth. It taught me what I would and wouldn't tolerate. It taught me the difference between love and self-sacrifice. Most importantly, it taught me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to hold on, it's to let go. So yeah, my whole life changed that Tuesday morning when Daniel forgot to log out of his email. My marriage ended. My sense of security shattered. My heart broke into pieces I wasn't sure I could ever reassemble. But I did reassemble them. Maybe not in the same configuration as before. Maybe with a few cracks still showing. But I put myself back together. And the person I became on the other side of that betrayal, she's someone I'm proud to be. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who doesn't settle. Someone who's learned that the ending of one story can be the beginning of another, better one.